Here is where I get to set my spirit free. Here is where I find my naturality. Where are we going?
From an athlete's perspective, it's been pretty difficult for me to like connect with my teammates, especially the freshmen and like the transfers, because like I would try to like do things as like I'll start with my suite mates because almost all my suite mates are on the track team. So like I'll text them like, "You guys want to go bowling tonight?" And they're like, "Yes." And then I'm like, "Okay, bet." And then like we'll try to like put it in the group chat, but then you meet some difficulty when it's like not everybody has cars, and then it's like we all can't fit in one car, and then it's like everybody's also worried like, all right, is it okay if we go bowling because it's like COVID out? I'm like, yeah, just wear your mask, but so there's always that like extra like step in between. And now also with practice groups being separate, it's also hard. So I'm looking at people and I'm like, who are they? When did they get on the team? And they're like, oh, that's. I'm like, huh? So it's like it kind of sucks because I'm so used to like by now I would know everybody's on the team's name already. And same with classes. Like luckily, I guess it's lucky that we have group me because there'll be that one person in the group or in the class who will start a group me and say like, oh hey, like this is the group me for I'm a journalism major, so like for journalism, whatever. And I'm like, okay, great. And like add anybody that's missing. So that kind of helps in terms of connections, like making a group me. But honestly, if the group me wasn't there, I feel like I would have a difficult time trying to like Shabuni was mentioned earlier. If something, like, if you don't understand something that professor said, it's going to be hard to, hit up your classmates like, what did he say or what are we supposed to do? So I think definitely download GroupMe if you haven't, and definitely if you can start a GroupMe chat with your classmates, and all you have to do is just hover over and see everybody's name, and you can probably find them on GroupMe that way. So I think that can help.
Great insight. Yeah. I too, because I don't know if you all, not to big up T-Mobile, but sometimes they give you these coupons and things like that. And one of them was going to Bolero, and I was like, oh man, wait a minute, do I need to bring my hand sanitizer? Do I need to bring my Lysol? Do I need to bring? It's like you can't even just kind of go into this being social again until you have your sanitation kit. Just like to make sure that everything's clean before. And that's a different type of challenge that I know I'm facing as well, Janelle. Uh, it, and I know another thing too, like we as administrators always look for connect the opportunity to connect with students and to meet you on a level. How has that been? I'm not sure if you all have like mentors or administrators or faculty that you really connect with. How has that been challenging for you in this day and age? Kyria?
Yeah, so with professors, kind of like faculties and supervisors, what I've been witnessing is that they've been very like understanding. I think whether like you're a student or whether you're a professor, we're all kind of going through the same thing. And I feel like because we are in the same position, they've been very like understanding. Like we all have our own kind of like struggles and challenges on our end and on also for them on their end. And I think that they have been really like understanding and just like appreciative of like everything they do for us. And I think I really appreciate that they kind of understand that this is not a regular semester and that things are different, and that they are kind of like understanding that a lot of us don't feel like students anymore, or like kind of accommodate to how can like I best help you to be successful in this course or for this semester.
Yeah, that's thank you for that. And just extend that conversation and to you and everyone else. What is that? How does it impact you as an individual when somebody's like reaching to you? When somebody's like, "Hey, I understand, I empathize, I get it. Here's what I can do for you," um, or just saying, "Hey, I'm going through the same thing as well." What does that do for you as a student as you're going through this process? Oh, go ahead, Kyrie.
Right, just to piggyback off that, I think like that's a great question. I think a lot of times, like especially during this time, we forget that like all of us are we get like the human side of each other. Like we like put labels, like we put professor, we put coach, we put athlete, we put kind of like all these like labels on each other. But like we forget that like we're all human, and like we're gonna go through the same thing. Like we all have like families, and we all are we struggle with similar things. I feel like I guess maybe in society, like it's not as transparent that, people are going through these things, or they tell you to kind of like hide it, or not to express these kind of like the humanistic side of whether it's like your job or whatever position you're in. So I think seeing that and realizing like, okay, hey, like maybe me and my supervisor are kind of going through the same thing, but like you would never know. So I think that's really important to just remember that, we're all human at the end of the day, and like whatever it is we're going through, we don't have to put up a front because of our label, that you like label or position that you're in. So I think that's very like helpful, understanding that, we're all human.
And I'm going to throw another label out there for all of you. What does it mean to be a pioneer? You were all courageous enough to come back to higher education in the middle of a pandemic.
Like Sacagawea?
Huh?
Sacagawea. Like, I'm out here foraging in the forest, man. Picking up my nuts and my berries.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was about to say, explain kind of explain that metaphor, because I think I get it kind of, but go a little deeper with that, Nia. Yeah.
And I might have the wrong person, but I thought Sacagawea helped John White, right? It was I don't know. I might be the wrong person, but I feel like they foraged and they searched because they were the first people here, and they had to figure out how to make a whole colonization work and figure out where people could live and where life would be the best sustained, especially because there's hard land, especially on the East Coast. I think that's
Lewis Clark.
Oh,
They were all moving westward.
There we go. So who's John White? Pocahontas? Well, one of those stories, man. But yeah, we're finding our nuts and we're finding our berries and trying to make our lives work because we're the first ones to ever do it. We haven't done it before. So
Yeah, Ellen, when you said pioneer, the first thing that came to my mind was every time I just read the news or talk to a friend about what's going on, I feel like we are living history. Like this is going to be in textbooks. It is, and we are a part of it, and we are making the history. So I think that's an important thought to bring into our minds as well, that what do we want our history to look like? Because we do have control over it, and we can change it, and we can maneuver it however we want. So I do think that's a really, really important piece to remember.
I mean, how? Oh, go ahead, Catherine. Because you're about.
I was going to say, taking from history perspective, if you look at World War II, you see the whole incorporation of women into the workforce. And with Y2K, you saw this exception or the accepting of the, I feel like it was other demographics into the workforce for like computers and everything in Y2K scandal or that whole situation. So with bad things that happen like COVID, World War II, you are pushed into this new growth. You're doing more things, you're doing different things like distance learning. Even though there are negatives to it, there's positives where people don't have to commute. There's less carbon-2 emissions with commuting, and everyone's not using their cars as much and staying home. So there's all benefits and negatives to each transition.
Yeah, I also want to add that we're not just living through a pandemic, we're also living through a presidential election that I think is probably one of the most historic elections we'll ever see. We also, saw the Black Lives Matters protests during their height over the summer and what those social justice movements meant. And we're living history at this point. And it's all about how you want this to be taught for generations. Like we're making it right now. We have to make sure history is written exactly how we want it to be written. So, going out and voting, is important. Going out and protesting for what you believe in is important. Teaching everyone like what the purpose of the Black Lives Matter movement is, why this even is a thing. You know, just going out there and, you know, making
So are you saying that, I mean, history is yesterday, one way or the other, but you're saying this is a historical time because we're facing change, Kiara? Yeah, I think that's what you're saying. Speak up closer to your mic because you're a little bit soft.
Oh, yeah, this is definitely a historic time. I think not just because we're experiencing change, but because we've never experienced what we're experiencing before. We've never experienced a pandemic at the same time as a presidential election, at the same time of all these social justice movements happening. So it's just like a lot going on at once, I think. And it's definitely going to be a memorable time for all of us.
Do you think any of this is evolutionary?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, do you think that we're on the cusp of a change in our evolution and how we are human beings?
I don't know. I think the things we care about are changing due to the circumstances. So like we mentioned earlier, we're valuing social interaction a lot more because we haven't had that in a long time. We're valuing these social justice movements a lot more because we're seeing what it means to other people more often online because we're spending more time online. I think just due to the circumstances we've been put in recently, our values have shifted a little more. So, yeah.
To piggyback off of that, I think the other piece of it is it depends on where you are because being in the north, because I'm from Dallas, so like back home, people are walking around with no masks on. Well, I don't know if it changed, but when I was back home before, like no mask or barely had the mask on, didn't really want to have the mask on, still really big, large gatherings, still throwing parties and things. Even like my friends back home, I can see on their Snapchat stories they're going to parties and things like that. I'm like, oh, that looks fun, but I'm up north, so like it's also gross. So I'm looking at it like, ew. So my values have changed, but maybe other people's values haven't changed. And I think that so it shows how everybody's growing and how everybody is experiencing life differently. So I think, yeah, we are evolving. Put it in a simple form.
Yeah, I'm just listening to everybody speaking because I think that the main thing that popped up was elections for me and being able to exercise your right to vote. And I think this is probably really connected to what has been said about being able to kind of create your own future, you know, and which is part of what the next part of our segment is going to look at. What would a future look like for you?
Yeah,